Hi everyone, welcome back to Feather Stitch House. My name's Rebecca and each week on this channel I make videos about embroidery and textile art to help you get creative. We're in week 18 of this year's Winging It project, Picking the Pots. Each week I take a pick from my 3 plant pots. One has got colours in it, the second has got shapes and the third contains stitches, and we use these random picks to inspire a piece of improvised textile art. This is a really low demand project, so you can dip in and out. If a set of prompts float your boat, then go for it. If not, then feel free to leave it out. The whole point is to get you creating. This isn't my only stitch along this year. I'm running a subscription project over on Ko-fi. There is a link in the description below, and there'll also be a link in the end card of this video. It's called Postcards from the Hedge, and each week we make a textile art postcard featuring something from the British countryside. We have covered flowers, birds, animals, all sorts of foliage and some seasonal scenes as well. I try and cover as much textile art ground as I possibly can, so there are loads of new techniques and skills to learn along the way. So if you're interested, head over to Ko-fi. You can sign up straight away and prices start at just £4 per month. That's less than £1 per video. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, just click the link and you can head straight there. Anyway, enough chit chat. I'm going to head into my studio and let's get picking.
Right, here we go. Pots at the ready, stopwatch ready to go. I wonder what it's going to be this week. Whether our pastel series will continue or whether we're going to have something completely different. Right, here's our colour. I can't believe it. Oh no. That looks fixed. It isn't. Look, I'm going to pick another one out just to show you. Look, purple. It could have been purple. They're not. They don't all say pastel. And an L shape. That's our shape. So right angles, I guess, would be the best way of describing that. You can interpret that how you like. Oh, this one's crumpled. Let's go for the crumpled one. Please be something good. Wheat ear stitch. Right, that's quite a nice one actually. Don't confuse it with sheaf stitch because it's actually nothing like sheaf stitch. We did that back in week 1. Wheat ear stitch is a combined stitch, so it's 2 stitches together and it's really nice. So don't know what I'm going to do yet. I don't have an immediate thought, but maybe we'll do an abstract one this week. So we've got pastel, an L shape or right angle, and wheat ear stitch. So I'll demonstrate the stitch first and have a bit of a think about what I could do with this one. Right, so wheat ear stitch is a combination stitch. It's a pairing together of a fly stitch and chain stitch. Now we've done chain stitch. Fly stitch is worked in a very similar way, but we keep the top of the stitch open. I'll show you. I'll do a really big one so that you can see clearly. So we're going to bring our thread through and I want to hop across, directly across, horizontally to the right of where that thread came through, and I want to pull through until I've got a little loop like that in my thread. Now we're going to come up a little way down from the top of the stitch and right in the middle of those 2 points, so halfway between where the thread comes up and where it goes back down. And we want to make sure our needle comes up inside that loop, and when we pull through, that loop's going to get caught on the thread and pull it into a V. So that's our fly stitch. Now we're going to make our chain stitch. So we're going to put our needle back down at the same point where it came up, so above that caught loop inside the point of the V, like that. And we've made a new loop now. Pull through, and then we're going to come down a little way and bring our needle up inside that loop directly below the point of the V. And when we pull through, that loop catches on our thread and we get our chain stitch. Then we hop over and pull through, and that is a wheat ear stitch. So if I want to, I can do lots of those separately, but I can also pair them together. So now if I come back up underneath where I started and horizontally across from the top of the chain stitch, like that, hop across to the right, so directly below the other part of that V, and now I'm going to come up just below that chain stitch and pull through, and then I make my next chain stitch. So loop around, back in where I came out, up inside the loop and pull through, and then hop over that loop to anchor it. And I can make a string of wheat ear stitches in this way. I think they look really lovely. So very simple stitch in a lot of ways, just made it in 2 stages. As long as you go steady, you should have no problem with it at all. And when you've got to the end of whatever length you want to cover, you just finish off on the back. So that is wheat ear stitch. Really nice one. You can see why it's called wheat ear stitch, because they look like sort of grains with the little wispy bits at the top. That's wheat ear stitch. Let's hope we can come up with some exciting way to use it. Right, here we go. I've got a suitable felt background. This one it's like very sort of pale peachy colour, and I thought it would look nice with pastels. And I've also done a little bit of preparation. I've taken a small piece of all of the pastel fabrics that I could find, and I don't have that many. These aren't colours I use particularly often, and I've attached them to a piece of Bondweb. So I've just cut a little rectangle. Let's give you a bit of an idea of size. So it's about 5 centimetres by 6 centimetres roughly, and I've just attached them all onto a piece of Bondweb. I do find that when I'm struggling for inspiration and trying to use a shape, that playing around with shapes on my computer helps, and this is what I've come up with. So lots of L shapes, almost like parquet floor. I didn't want them to disappear off the edge, so I flipped them around, and then these bits were looking a bit bare, so I thought, I wonder what it would look like if I put them in the corners. So we'll have lots of felt showing through, Not sure how I'm going to use the wheat ear stitch, but that's kind of what I've got in mind. So it's funny, in these videos I tend to stitch a thing, so like a picture, and I never do that normally. When I'm doing this kind of stitching, it's always abstract, just using shapes, and I've seemed to have decided that for picking the pots I've got to create a picture of something, and so I thought, let's go abstract today and just see what happens. So what I'm going to do is just cut out some L's. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 8, 9. So I need kind of 9. So I've just cut one out of my little mock-up, and I'm just going to use it as a template. It is paper, so it's not especially robust, but because we're doing straight lines, I can use the blade of my scissors to get the lines nice and straight if when I draw around the template they're a bit wobbly. So I'm just going to make 9 L shapes. So that's 2. I'm trying to maximise the fabrics that I like more. Hope everybody's well. We are having a remarkably good week of weather here in Lincoln. I think the whole of the UK is having we're having a bit of a mini heat wave, and it's not that hot, but for the time of year it really is. And so I've been spending a fair amount of time in the garden doing a bit of stitching. I have to really have a chat with myself, because I feel like, I work at home, I work for myself, and I am the worst manager I've ever had, because I am mean to myself. I sometimes feel that if I'm not in my studio or not in my room where I edit, then I'm not working. And so I have to have a bit of a word with myself sometimes to just be a bit kinder to myself. And so I'm busy designing the summer landscape kit at the moment, and there's quite a lot that has to be done at a desk, but I'm on to the stage where I'm designing the stitching now, and I can do that anywhere. So I had to have a bit of a chat with myself and remind myself that it was perfectly okay to go and sit in the garden and stitch, that I'm not being lazy, I am still working. I don't know, we're not very kind to ourselves sometimes, are we? So that's enabled me to enjoy the sun, and I'm very grateful for it. I'm getting ready for my next batch of shows, so I said I'd keep you up to date. So this Sunday, as this video goes out, I will be at the Open Gardens at Dunholm Lodge, which is very, very close to my house, like 5 minutes away. I met the person who lives at the lodge at, I think it was the Newark Quilt Show that I did back in January, and she emailed me and asked me if I wanted to go. And I don't expect to do very much trade really, because it's not an event where people are going expecting to buy embroidery kits really, but it's just nice to be doing something in the community, and people might be interested in coming to workshops. So I do have some workshop dates. There are some places available, so do check out my website. There's a link in the description below if you're interested. and you can book in online. But anyway, I'm there this Sunday, and if you're relatively local and you're interested in open gardens, I am doing another one in June as well. I can't remember the date, but it will magically appear on the screen. Right, this is what I meant when I talked about using the blades to cut the line. So if you just cut in one movement, you're going to get a really nice straight line, because the blades are straight. So try and get all of the L shape into the blade, and going down here I can just end my cut at the corner. So that's done Home Lodge, and then in a couple of weeks I'm at Quilts UK in Malvern, which is a show run by Grosvenor Shows, and there will be a link in the description if you're interested in that to book tickets. And the next show after that, I believe, is another Grosvenor show. It's in June, can't remember the date, and it's in Spalding. So that's where I'm going to be. It's been lovely that some of you have been popping along to various shows. Saw a couple of people at Crafterama, and actually it turned out to be a very good show for us. So the landscape panels are going down a storm, so do look out for me posting about the summer one, which is in the works, and it's looking good so far. I know I say it every time that whatever I'm working on most recently is my favourite thing ever, but this one is my kind of colours, it's my kind of scenery, it's working for me in a lot of ways. So looking forward to doing a reveal of that. So if you fancy coming along to a show, saying hello, do bring your sewing, bring your pick of the pots, because seeing them in the flesh is always better than seeing pictures. So yeah, if you do come along to a show, bring your book or your wall hanging or whatever it is you're stitching them onto, because I really would love to see them. So anyway, you've seen enough of me cutting out L shapes. I'm going to keep going, and then I'll come back when I've got them all and we'll applique them on. I haven't done a big demo of Bondaweb, did it a couple of weeks ago, so if you're not sure about using Bondaweb, this is actually FuserWeb. I should credit the right company, shouldn't I? If you aren't sure, I will put a link up here to the video where I went through it in detail and show you how to go about using it. So I'll come back when I've got all my L's cut out. Okay, I cut out loads of L's and forgot that I needed, if you want to do the opposite corners, you have to flip the template, because this one will work here, but it won't work here. So you have to flip it. So I've done two that are the other way around. I can't find them now. There we go. I've got two that are the other way around and loads that are this way. Really, I should have flipped the template to cut most of them, because most of my L's now are going to be backwards, but I won't tell if you don't. So I'm going to peel the backing off. I've marked my border in already, and I'm just going to tessellate these together. So what I'm going to do is just tap it with my iron briefly to hold it in place while I decide what arrangement I want, and then I'll iron the whole lot together. So just popping them on like that. Let's put these corner ones in so that I don't keep forgetting which one's which. So I just went for pastel-y floral fabrics. I think pastels always make me think about florals, so it just works for me to do this kind of colour arrangement. And I do like shapes that tessellate. I do. I can't help it. It's that organised bit of me, which is only a small bit of me, but I do like it when everything just fits together. And I quite like all the florals together as well. I think, particularly as the sun's out, it's just making me feel like I want everything to be about flowers and gardens. So I think it works quite nicely. Let's put a bit of yellow. I don't know why you don't use colours like this more often, because I do quite like them when they're all together, and I do like florals, but I think I just like kind of earthy and muddier colours. Right, I think that'll do. I've got a load of L's now left over. Right, I'm going to be very well behaved and use parchment. So I just want to make sure I haven't folded up any edges, so they're all sitting flat, and then I can just press over the top. So if you've got a small iron, that little trick where you just melt the glue a little bit to hold them in place can work quite nicely, but a bit trickier with a large iron. It just means that you're not worrying about everything moving while you're trying to stitch. So I'm just going to wait for that to cool, and then I'll find some pastel threads. I've got this one that I demonstrated the stitch with. I don't know whether that's too strong now, but I do know I've got a nice variegated thread that's quite pastel-y, so I'll find that and put my border back in, and then we'll add some wheat ear stitches. Okay, I found two threads. I've got this anchor variegated. Let me see if I can find the number inside. I think it is 1335. This is a 12 weight. No, it's not. It's an 8 weight pearl cotton. And I've also got this one, which is a lot paler. It's kind of candy stripy, which is 1301. So I thought we could use those. I'm going to start with this one. You could use a range of different threads if you want to, but we used this one on the lilac fish the other week, just to break up all that lilac, but it's going to work really nicely on this one because it's got all those pastel-y rainbow colours. I'm going to start with my running stitch around to the outside edge, I think, and then I'm not liking that black heat erase pen around the outside, so I just want to visually get rid of it. Okay, I've put in 2 layers of running stitch. I thought we needed to just catch down those outer L shapes as well, so I've put some guidelines on. Thought I would do some L shapes in wheat ear stitch, so I am going to carry on with my thread. I don't know if I'll use this very pale one. I think it's almost too pale, and I'm going to do lines of them locked together like I showed you in the demo, and I do think they look lovely in a variegated thread. I like any stitching really in variegated thread. I just love watching the colours change, but this pastel variegated, this pastel rainbow, I think is just a joy. Not really my colours, but I just love it. I'll show you one and then I'll do the rest off camera, because you don't need to be watching me do hundreds and hundreds of the same kind of stitch. So I can't quite believe that after 3 weeks of pastel shades, we actually picked out pastel. My reactions are totally genuine. And when I said I wonder if we'll carry on with our pastel theme, I'd actually forgotten that I put pastel as an option in the pot. So just could not believe it when that came out. It is just the look of the drawer. So our pattern will break at some point. I can't remember what other pastel shades I've put in there. Maybe I should look at my list of picks. I do get asked, by the way, quite regularly if I will release the list of what's in the pot. And I did think about it. A lot of people asked at the beginning, and I know that some of you just want to make sure you've got all the right colours and all that sort of stuff. But I think it ruins the surprise, because there's some unusual things in there, and I kind of want to keep it a surprise. So what I think I'm going to do is, at the end of the year, when we've done all our picks and done all our draws from the pot, I will release the list then. And so if you want to do this again next year with different combinations, you can do your own picks and keep the fun going. It's certainly been an exercise that has got me thinking and challenged me to think of how to use stitches in different ways. So I think it's a good exercise, if nothing else, just to get your creative juices flowing. I don't really like that expression. I think it feels a bit gross, but you know what I mean. So yeah, that's what I think I'll do, but I'm not going to release them before that. Right, so that's I will bring it up close in a minute. That's my list of wheat ear stitches at the bottom. I'm going to finish off that thread because it's difficult to turn corners with wheat ear stitch, better in straight lines. So I'm going to come down from the top now. I just put some markers on just to help me work out where to begin and end my stitches. So that's all these little markings are. I think when I put these stitches in, I always have in mind something that I'd like to stitch with them, but you can't control, of course, with this project, because how you use the stitch totally depends on what you pull out. So this would have been a great one to do sort of florals with, but it didn't really match the L shape. I suppose I could have used the L shapes to make a sort of flower box, but I feel like we've done that. We did something along those lines, window boxes with grey, and we did the hanging basket the other week with the yellow. So I'm trying not to be samey, but we haven't done an abstract one for a while. So I hope this is all right. It's just a way of using shapes and stitches in a sort of creative-ish way. Right, here we go. We've finished. I can't believe how floral it looks. Considering we've stitched over a lot of those fabrics, it looks like a flower garden to me, just because of the wheat-ear stitch. It's strange how fabrics and stitches work together. So I've put in some little elms of wheat-ear stitch there, and I added an extra row of running stitches as well, because the gap between the two that I'd done and my first line of wheat-ear stitches seemed a little bit large, and that is the finished piece. And I can't believe I'm saying it, because it's not my thing at all, but I just love it. I think it's just so pretty. So really abstract today, no picture, just playing with stitches and fabric and the shapes. I like the little spaces where the felt is showing through. I just think it works. So yeah, I hope you like it too. That's what it's looking like. So I'm just going to zoom back out a little bit and bring in the book. Here we go with our little pastel section. Oh, I can't believe that I'm wishing we could go back to strong colours and dark colours. I suppose we had a bit of a run of dark there, didn't we? We had lime green, and then it was silver, then berry, which was quite dark, and then black. But since then, it's just been one pastel after another. Maybe that's all of them now. I'll be sad to see them go. We're going to pick out something like brown next week, aren't we? And everybody will feel miserable because it's spring going into summer, and we don't want to be thinking about those colours. But I promise it's not a fix. Hopefully you can tell from my reactions that it is spontaneous and totally genuine, because I genuinely don't know what's coming out of that pot. Right, what is the date? You have to forgive me always looking up the date. I'm obviously not filming it on the day it's going to go out, and I'm not very good with what day of the week or what date it is at the best of times. Right, it's the 4th of May. And while I'm here, I realised that I'd looked up Saturday and not Sunday, so that should be the 27th for last week. Thank you for not all pointing it out. I had put the wrong date on. It was the 27th. So that's this week. So let's put in our picks as well. It's getting tricky to do these now. Be nice to get onto our second book. I have got a plan, by the way. I've taken out extra pages. I'm going to do the first 26 in this book, and then the second 26 in the other book. I've taken out excess pages. I have got a plan for when it's all done, but I don't know whether it's going to work until they're all done and both books are filled. So I need to see how much space they're going to take up. But yeah, I've taken out quite a lot of pages, so I've just got enough to do 26 in here now. But it's getting quite chunky. I didn't really anticipate. I think I went quite bold quite early on, lots of bulk, particularly ones like this and all the buttons, the Suffolk puff. I went quite bold quite early on, and the book's quite chunky. Having said in the launch video that I hate it when books are like this, we'll see how we get on. Thank goodness for the little elastic tab, because at least it stays together. Right, so let's go back to this week's. So that is this week's pastel colours, L shape and wheat ear stitch. I hope you like it as much as I do, and I hope you've enjoyed watching. Don't forget to share in our Facebook group if you haven't joined. There's a link in the description below. Make sure you agree to the group rules so that I can let you in without bouncing it back to you. And if you're sharing on Instagram or Facebook, as always, use hashtag FSH Winging It 2025 and tag me at Feather Stitch House so that I'm more likely to see your creations. I think this one has got a lot of scope to be really lovely, so looking forward to seeing what you come up with. Have a great week, take care, enjoy the weather for whatever it is wherever you are in the world, and I will be back next week with another pick of the pots. Take care and I'll see you soon. Bye.